Hello and welcome to It's Your Business with Mario Toneguzzi on Megapix Media. Joining me today is Elton Ash, who is Executive Vice President, Regional Executive Vice President of Remax of Western Canada. Thanks for joining us today, Elton.
It's great to be with you, Mario.
Well, Elton, Leger put out a survey recently on people's feelings about neighborhoods and livability, et cetera, that Remax was part of. Tell me, first of all, what were some of the key findings from your perspective from that survey?
Well, certainly people are looking for lifestyle. Livability includes a wide range of things, whether that's parks, green space, proximity to schools, walkability scores to convenience stores or larger retail, strip mall kind of outlets. Just the lifestyle in general that people like to enjoy. And of course, Calgary rates very high in the country for overall livability.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I found interesting was the support that people wanted to give to local like neighborhood businesses. Can you talk about that importance in the market out there?
Well, and you know, COVID-19 has really accentuated some of these things, and the desire that people have to support local business. I mean, what has occurred, especially with COVID, is that online ordering has certainly gone up in volume. And yet we're seeing from these types of surveys that people see the importance of having local retail, local business supported, and are willing to pay a premium to get that because the service is better, especially after sale service. If you ever have an issue with, you know, putting the barbecue together or something like that, but it's important in the majority of people's minds that that local retailer is supported and that they're in the community, because that community presence means that they're supporting the community as well, whether that's a kids hockey team, softball, dance schools, that type of thing that young parents place a great emphasis on.
Now, I think what I saw in those surveys results too were that people also wanted more local businesses, correct?
Correct. And that is a bit of a challenge because and this comes down to municipal planning, zoning, and allowing business to be in a situation where they can thrive. But it also is it's a bit of a catch-22, because unless local people and families support those businesses, then it's hard for them to survive. And so it's certainly a symbiotic relationship that's there to allow this growth and luxury of having the retailers close by.
Yeah. What were people's thoughts about real estate in general and their impressions on the market?
Well, it has varied dramatically in the past several months. I mean, when this survey was done, which was earlier this year, this was slightly pre-COVID times.
Yeah.
We've looked at it in an update during COVID, and this is where some of these uh, uh, reactions have changed during the COVID crisis, when the survey was initially done and then updated a couple months ago. And what we've seen, of course, is people being forced to be at home, not able to go to work, and then realizing that here they are, kids are underfoot. They didn't go to school in May and June. They were conducting business at home, and suddenly they found, and this is where the local retail concept really grew. They found that, gee, their home wasn't exactly what they envisioned that it would be now that there's all this at home going on.
Yeah.
And what we've seen now is a move, and the real estate market has really changed dramatically July and August and September, where people started looking, maybe they didn't need to live downtown, maybe they didn't need to live as close to work as they did, that they could live out in the suburbs, so to speak, or perhaps more in a recreational area like Canmore or something like that. And there's been this sudden realization, and that employers are also have come to the realization that the team doesn't need to be on site. that they can work as effectively and productively at home or remotely. And so there's this whole theme that's carrying on now that's very interesting.
Yeah, it is an interesting dynamic that's taking place, right? With all these people working from home. And that trend is going to grow and grow, I think, going
Yeah.
forward. But it really opens the door, I think, for people in their real estate choices, right? For example, even in my own personal side of things, my wife has often said, well, you know what, you can really work anywhere, right? So you can work in small town Alberta or in Tuscany, Italy, right?
Well,
How is that going to impact the market going forward, the industry, when you have that dynamic in place of more people working from home and really not having to be where they actually work in an office?
well, this is going to be an evolving trend that we see will continue. And Calgary is in an interesting position. I mean, it's a great livability score, as we've seen through our surveys, the city and the overall area and the region, and the foothills and all that sort of thing. And yet it's a very cosmopolitan, downtown oriented city that's developed over the last 10, 15, 20 years.
Mm.
And the challenge is that as you look downtown Calgary, there's a lot of vacant commercial office space right now, and as a result of the resource sector
Yeah.
pricing collapse that Calgary unfortunately has been experiencing for the last 6 years. But from an employer perspective and from a commercial building owner, landlord perspective, there's some troubling trends here. And yet at the same time, this is where it really gets interesting. We see high tech companies, which have really grown in the last 6 months and really gained from this whole health crisis that we've been in because of the remote, because of the online and all this sort of thing. Uh, Looking at commercial space, and they're growing, and there's still a need for people to be together. I mean, we are social animals, and people are more productive when they are in that social setting, because the challenge with working remotely, I mean, yeah, we meet with Zoom as we're meeting right now, but it doesn't provide that human interaction face to face, the body language and all of this thing that's still required for maximum productivity. So I believe that we're going to see a hybrid trend. Yes, people will be working more remotely, but they're still going to need to come in
Yeah.
and gather together, do the brainstorming, for maximum productivity and efficiency.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to see smaller commercial spaces, probably more highly developed and planned, so that when people come together to collaborate, it'll be very effectively done.
Okay. Just one last question, Elton, and more so about the market itself. Obviously it was hit hard, when COVID struck, in mid-March. A few months of hell, so to speak, for the real estate industry. But then we saw a pickup in activity in July, August, and now in September as well. What do you expect from the market for the last remaining few months of this year?
Well, my crystal ball was totally wrong back in January. So, I give this opinion with some caution. But, Calgary right now, Edmonton, Alberta, the whole country is now reached almost outside of Alberta, historical highs in real estate values that have just shot up in the last 2 months. Now,
Yeah.
Alberta, because of the recessionary issue, hasn't reached historical highs, but the market has improved significantly. And so that we are seeing sales volumes that are equal to 4 or 5 years ago. But this is being driven by the crowd mentality that we often see, by emotion. And that will come to, there'll be a pause. And that is a natural reaction to the kind of market, the frenetic market that we've seen.
Yeah.
And so I'm totally expecting a bit of a pause in the fourth quarter. We're now into today, 1st of October, November, December, which is going to seem seasonal in nature anyway. December and January are two of our slowest months to begin with.
Yeah.
And so if you take the combination of this huge frenetic activity that we've experienced and what will be a natural slowdown to that, plus seasonal, we are going to be see a bit of a slowing of the market through the winter months. And then now second wave aside, and hopefully,
Yeah.
Ontario, Quebec's a little troubling right now, but nevertheless, I think we're going to see a more traditional market come 21 spring, kind of build up and that kind of thing.
Okay, super. Thanks for joining us today, Elton.
Mario, it's always a pleasure.
Thank you. This was Elton Ash, who is Regional Executive Vice President of REMAX of Western Canada. This has been It's Your Business with Mario Toneguzzi. Thanks for joining us today.